Hey everyone, it's Izzy from Endless RVing, and today's question is to cover or not to cover. You're not going to want to miss it.
We're going away. Get your bag, check the tag.
Thank you for joining us at another episode of Tuesday's Tips. In today's tip, we're going to be talking about covering your RV. Is it a good idea to cover it or not to cover it? Guys, I'm going to preface this by saying this is what we do. It's not the right way, it's not the wrong way, it's our way. So before you throw the hate at us, just understand this is how we do it, okay? A couple of ways you can cover your RV, right? I think it's a universal agreement that probably the best way to cover your RV is going to be in an indoor facility, whether that's a garage or a storage facility. Now for us, that's not a reality. We don't have an indoor facility that can fit our Class A motorhome. And we're certainly not going to pay for storage because that could be quite expensive, especially in the New Jersey, New York area. You have a second option. You have the half-covered or full-covered ports. And you've seen these many times on resorts that they'll say, well, people will have a little home and then next to it they'll be able to cover their RV. That's not an option for us either. We don't have the ability, due to the proximity of our property to the deep woods, we can't back it in even if we had a port cover. So what leaves us is our third option, which is what we do, and you can see it behind me. It's going to be a RV cover. Now this is a source of a lot of controversy on a lot of forums that I've been on, and there's pros and there's cons to each one, okay? And we're going to go over the 4 cons and the 4 pros for covering your RV with an RV cover. Con number 1, and I read this is certainly the most common one I read all the time. People say if you use an RV cover, you don't have venting and mildew and moisture will build up both inside your motorhome or RV and outside on the roof. Now, yes, this could be true if you're not using some kind of breathable or waterproof cover. If you're using a plastic tarp, yeah, if you get a leak in there and this thing is not breathing, that is certainly a concern, but that's addressed in certain areas that we're going to get to later. So number 1, moisture buildup. Concern or con number 2, damage to the finish of your RV, whether that's going to be to your gel coat or to your paint. I read this concern all the time about the RV got damaged from either the straps or from debris underneath. And yes, that is certainly a concern, but again, that can also be addressed, which we will cover shortly. Concern number 2, damage to your RV's finish. Concern number 3, difficulty of putting on an RV cover, difficulty in storing the RV cover because they can get quite large. This cover right here is over 50 pounds, and it is a little bit of a challenge to put on. However, depending on what your situation is, that doesn't actually have to be that big of a deal, and we'll talk about that shortly. So number 3, difficulty of storing, taking on and off, and the weight and putting on of the cover. Con or concern number 4 is going to be the cost. And yes, they are not cheap. This cover is about $400. This is the higher end 4-season cover. If you get a 3-season cover, it's going to be about half of that. So yeah, it's not a cheap cost. You can buy a tarp for a lot less, but you may have some of the other issues that I touched on earlier. So concern number 4 will be the cost. So let's talk about the pros. Number 1, the cost. Now you might be asking yourself, but wait a second, you just said a con was a cost. Well, I did, because if you were going to do no covering, yes, anything additional that you would pay may be considered a con. But if you are serious and you really cherish these motorhomes or RVs, these things are high-priced items. They are not cheap. The cost of this is probably one of the best covers, a 4-season cover, heavy duty, is about $400. Now, when you compare that to what it's going to cost if you need indoor storage, you're talking probably several $100s a month. If you're going to have some kind of garage built, if you don't already have one, I mean, that's tens of thousands of dollars. And even if you're going to put a port up, you're talking, probably over $10,000. So for $400, that's a pretty good deal. And these things are warranted for 3 years. So break it down. You're about $120, $110 a year. Certainly not a bad investment to protect your paint and protect your motorhome, which many of these guys are 6 figures. So Cost, number one pro. Pro number two is going to be protection against the elements. Now, we only cover this motorhome if we're going to be in the summertime, if we're going to be away from it from an extended amount of time, and that's probably going to be 2 to 3 weeks more, because it takes probably about 20 minutes to get this thing on, and then it takes a little longer to get it off because you got to fold it up. But we do cover it all winter, okay? So this was put under the cover about a week ago. It will stay there until probably early April when we're going to take the motorhome back out. And the big reason is we live in the woods, right? There's elements here. Not only do you have the sun, which is not that prevalent in the winter, but you do have snow, you have ice, you have bird droppings. We have quite a few pine trees that I hate, and they're always spitting down sap, needles, branches. You got pine cones. It's just a non-stop array and attack of elements, and under this cover, she's protected. And I say she because it's a female. So we wash it before we put it under the cover, and then we get under the cover and it's good to go. I don't have to worry about any leaks because it's waterproof. So now the 3 or 4 months that it's under the cover, I'm not out here every couple of weeks checking the seals. I don't have to because it's under the cover. So big advantage, protecting against the elements. Pro number three, or advantage number three, higher resale value, okay? And you might ask yourself, well, how do you even think of that? Well, the first thing that people look at when they're going to go see either a car or a motorhome or house or anything, why do you stage a house before you sell it? Because the first 10 seconds, 30 seconds of when a person sees that, if your motorhome or RV looks like crap when they first see it, the paint is faded, the gel coat is all oxidized, guess what? You just reduced your resale value significantly. Now, we have automotive paint, and that certainly lasts a lot longer compared to like a gel coat. But either way, the less that this thing is exposed to the elements, to the ice, the UV rays, the more it's going to be protected. Why do you think cars that are garage kept look so good? I have a 2017 Ram. It's garage kept. Paint is like glass. It still looks great because it's inside protected from the elements. So resale value, keeping your rig looking good, number three. So number four is not really a pro, but I'm going to tell you what to look for in an RV cover. Now, this is actually our second cover. We had one on our trailer. I thought it was that important to get one, even when we got our first trailer, just because of all the reading and research I've done and actually covering cars in the past. I know how valuable this could be. So a couple of things you want to look for, right? Guys, don't cheap out on a cover. Like I said, this is the most expensive one that, I shouldn't say most expensive. It's a higher end cover. It's $400. Now, for some, that may be a lot of money. But if you compare it to a six-figure rig, I mean, it's peanuts, really. Now, this is all going to be dependent on what kind of RV you have and whether you want to spend this or not. So I'm going to show you a couple things you want to look for on a good cover. This is a 4-season cover, which means it's rated for all 4 seasons, right? It's waterproof, weatherproof, and it's breathable. And I want to show you a couple of things, okay? So you want to look for, this has wind vents, right? And what the wind vents are going to do is it's going to allow air to flow from underneath the motorhome, and the vents are actually on top on the roof. So as the wind blows from underneath, it's going to vent out the roof. That allows air to circulate, and it also allows this cover to stay put in a situation when you have high winds. Now, we get some nice storms up here in northern New Jersey, winds whipping around. This guy hasn't flown around anywhere, okay? It's been good to go. So you certainly want to look for wind vents so the covers breathe. So you're not talking about those concerns about moisture and mildew building up. Another thing you want to look for straps, right? You want to look for a way that you can buckle down and strap that cover underneath your rig, across the windshield, across the back. That way it gives you an additional amount of security to keep that cover in place. You don't want a cover flapping around because that's maybe when you might get damage on your paint. So you want to look for some straps. You want your cover to allow you access to your RV. And what do I mean by that? Well, these kind of go on over the top. They go over. But on the passenger side of this cover, there's actually 2 areas that have a zipper, right? And that allows me to be able to zip all the way up and kind of split open the cover, and allows me access to inside the motorhome. So if you need to go inside to retrieve something or whatever the case may be, I easily could get in there without having to like remove or fight myself getting into that motorhome. So you want to look, again, look for covers that give you easy access to your RV. Another thing you want to look for, you want to get a cover that fits properly. No two RVs are the same size. I mean, unless you're getting the same model and floor plan, but there's so many RVs out there, so many different sizes, so you can't expect a cover to fit on one RV that's going to fit on another one. So, for example, this cover is for a Class A between 37 and 40 feet. That's what fits for us. Now, if I try to put this on a diesel pusher or I try to put on a Class B, it's not going to work. So you want to make sure you get a cover that is somewhat fitted to your RV. How do we get this? The final question, how do we get this thing on, right? Well, we kind of have it broken down to a system. It comes, when you buy at least this cover, it comes rolled up and it's clearly labeled. There's a label that says front. So what we do is MJ will get up on the ladder, I go on the roof, she hands me the front part, and then what I do, I put a drop cloth down the rear cap so nothing gets scratched up. Put the drop cloth down, and then I just start fishing it up. And it's unrolling on the ground, and I fish it up. I pull it all the way to the front, start draping it over. MJ will be on the bottom. She pulls it down. Not a big deal, guys. It's a little more of annoying when you're gonna pack it up. It's easier to take off, and then you gotta fold it up, right? And then I keep it just stored in the bed of my truck. So I hope this video helped you. Again, this is personal choice, what you want to do. We choose to keep our RV covered. This is now our third season doing it, and it's working out well for us. We had it all last year in the winter. We're going to have it this year in the winter, and then we also covered our travel trailer when we had it. We've had no damage to the paint. We've had no mold. We've had no moisture. Everything that I read about, these concerns, hasn't happened to us. And I think maybe that's because we invested in a good cover rather than using a cheap one or a tarp, or maybe we're just lucky. So if you liked the video and you found it useful, we invite you to hit the subscribe button. Also, please share if you know somebody that this may help. Additionally, comment below if you guys use a cover, or if you don't, or maybe you have a nice indoor setup, which we've seen also, which would be great. Put it in the comments below. We love to read them. We answer every comment. So from myself and MJ, who's filming, we thank you guys, and we'll see you on the road.